Hello and welcome. My name is Mary Rose Peterson, and I own Covert Ops Jury Investigations. What do we do? I'm glad you asked. We investigate the jury to find the one or more jurors who lied during jury selection so that they would be chosen and could then ensure that our clients would be convicted. This is not my typical podcast. This is me getting irritated and aggravated as I work on a report for one of our clients. I'm excited about what we found and looking forward to getting back in court with him. The issue that I have is that 10,000 voir later, it's the same dialogue over and over and over. The judges must have a playbook or something because they basically say the same things over and over and over, which is great if they just meant it. But I'm convinced that they don't, that they're just words on paper, like our Bill of Rights, like our Constitution, just words on paper to them. They don't mean it, because if they really meant it, we would have over 50 of our clients home. They would have been set free. They would not have been denied. I'm reading this voir dire to put together my report, and not every case is charged by indictment of the grand jury, but this one was. And I'm going to not name any names. I'm going to change names. Names aren't important yet. But I want you to hear what this judge said to the prospective jurors. And then I want you to think about it as you're hearing this. Think, if that were you sitting in that courtroom with a prospective juror badge on, would you believe that the person behind the defendant's desk there was already guilty? Think about that as I read this. The court said, now, in this case, Mr. Jones is charged and accused of 4 different things. And I'll read those 4 things off to you. The first one is a charge of first-degree murder. And it reads as follows. The grand jurors of the state of Florida impaneled and sworn to inquire under oath, information, or indictment make in and for County of Polk, State of Florida, upon oath and information, make that Mr. Jones on the 16th day of March of the year 2003 in the County of Polk, State of Florida, from a premeditated design to effect the death of a human being, unlawfully did kill a human being, to wit, Mr. Smith, by shooting the said Mr. Smith with a firearm. In the course thereof, did carry or use a firearm in violation of Florida statutes contrary to the statutes of the state of Florida. That's commonly referred to as premeditated first-degree murder. Count 2. The grand jurors, state of Florida, impaneled and sworn under oath, information, or indictment make that Mr. Jones, on the 16th day of March 2003, from a premeditated design to effect the death of a human being, did unlawfully attempt to kill a human being, to wit, Mr. Davis, by shooting the said Mr. Davis with a firearm. And in the course thereof, the said Mr. Jones did carry or use a firearm in violation of Florida statutes. That is what is commonly referred to as attempted first-degree premeditated murder. But we're not done. Count 3 provides grand jurors, state of Florida, impaneled and sworn under oath, information, or indictment, make that Mr. Jones, on the 16th day of March 2003, from a premeditated design to effect the death of a human being, did unlawfully attempt to kill a human being, to wit, Mr. Allen, by shooting the said Mr. Allen with a firearm. In the course thereof, did carry or use a firearm in violation of Florida statutes. Again, attempted first-degree premeditated murder. By the way, I did add the whole, but we're not done yet. That was not in the transcript. Count 4 of the indictment reads as follows. The grand jurors of the state of Florida, county of Polk, state of Florida, under oath, information, or indictment, make that Mr. Jones, on the 16th day of March, same day, 2003, did actually and intentionally touch or strike another person, to wit, Mr. James, against the will of the said Mr. James, and in doing so did use a deadly weapon, to wit, a firearm, in violation of Florida statutes. Those are the 4 charges that have to be tried over the next few days. If you heard that, would you believe that Mr. Jones had a snowball's chance in you know where of being innocent? I don't think so. I don't think so. What most people don't understand, and like this jury very likely did not understand, is that, and I'm going to read this, I could paraphrase, but I'm going to read the definition of a grand jury. The grand jury's main job is to determine if there's enough evidence or probable cause for a prosecutor to bring formal criminal charges or indictment against someone for a serious crime, acting as a check on government power by deciding if a case warrants a full trial. They hear evidence privately from a prosecutor. They don't decide guilt or innocence, and they issue an indictment, which is a formal accusation, if they find sufficient evidence, or they dismiss the case if not. The defendant and the defense attorney aren't even in the room, not even in probably the courthouse. The defendant is most likely in jail, and who knows who the defense attorney is even going to be at this point. The grand jurors only hear from the state attorney's office, from the people who are going to prosecute the case. They tell them their side of what they have, the evidence that they have collected against the accused. Fair? Doesn't sound very fair to me. And then, during the beginning of these voir dire proceedings, when there are grand jurors who have given the state permission to proceed, that dialogue is presented to the prospective jurors. Now, if I were a prospective juror sitting there, I would be thinking to myself, why do you need me? Your grand jury has already decided this guy's guilty. He's heard all the facts. They've presented the case. Why am I here? Why are you wasting my time? In fact, in this case, when I got to page 134 of the voir dire transcript, one of the prospective jurors raised her hand and said, I would just like to say, if you have what, now she's talking to the state attorney, the prosecutor in this case, who got the indictment from the grand jurors. She said, I would just like to say, if you have what you need, I really do not want to serve on this. To me, the impression is given that the grand jurors have already heard the case, and this is just some sort of strange formality to waste everyone's time on a second trial. That's what I would believe. What do you think? Did you know that the grand jury doesn't hear the defense's side? Did you know that the grand jury only hears from the state? Did you know that in every case I've looked into, the state did not tell the truth during trial, which makes me wonder if what they presented to the grand jurors was truthful? I don't think so. That kind of stuff makes me crazy, obviously. It irritates me because there are so many things about trials that are not fair to the defense. In fact, let me just start there. Why is it called a defense? It's the defense table, there's a defense attorney, and it's the defendant who is there to be trying for the case. Defend it. Defend. If you are truly innocent, until proven guilty by the state, why are you called the defendant? If you do not have to defend yourself, if you can sit there and, oh, I don't know, what do they say? Read a book, play cards, take a nap. Yes, they actually say those things during jury selection. The defense attorneys actually say that. And in Martin's case, my husband's case, his trial attorney said that. Would you be okay if I sat there and read a book? If I never opened my mouth, would you be okay with that? There are many times where a prospective juror will speak up in one of the voir dires I've read, and they'll say, no. Aren't you going to defend your client? And the defense attorney touts back, well, I don't have to. We don't have to defend ourselves. Well, then why are you called the defense if you don't have to defend him or her? Why are accusers called victims? They don't call them accusers at trial. They call them victims. And why is the defendant arrested before the trial even begins? If they're not proven guilty, why are they in custody during the trial? Not all. Sometimes they've been allowed out on bond, but you have to have money to do that. Most of our clients do not. So why have you're under arrest? In fact, I just wrote another report last week, and the issue was that our client was in leg irons. And every time he stood up or sat down, they made noise. Jail clothes. He doesn't have the orange jumpsuit on. So you can't tell that he's under arrest, except for the clanking of the leg irons. Oh, they took the handcuffs off, but they left the leg irons on. How is that fair? And then the judge said, well, we'll fix that by having the defendant stand up. So we'll all be standing when the jury comes in. So they tried that. They all stood up. They let the prospective jurors in. And then everyone sat down all at once, hoping to mask the sound of the clanking leg irons. This went on the whole trial. Trying to... Oh, at one point, I love this. At one point, the judge said, well, don't you have a briefcase or something you can put down there and kind of block the view? I'll tell you what, let's move him over to the other side of the table. And then you put your briefcase there and block the view from the jury. So they probably won't be able to tell that he has leg irons on. I'm just sitting there reading this going, what is this, a joke to you? This is some sort of game show to you? You're supposed to be the judge, the court, the one in charge. And you're just making light of all of this. And you say these words in voir dire. You tell the jurors to be honest, to be forthcoming, to speak up, to speak the truth. Is there anything that we need to know about your background, your experience, your life changes, anything, speak up. And then when we show that that didn't happen, that the jurors came in there and lied to your face, judge, guess what they do? Nothing. Oh, excuse me. No, they do something. They do this. Deny, deny, deny. There are some judges that even tell this prospective jurors, we'll have to do this all over again, and you could be criminally prosecuted for lying to the court. In fact, it is a third-degree felony to lie to the court. It's called direct criminal contempt of court. Thank you to the state attorney supervisor who let me in on that little secret. It's not fraud on the court. It's direct criminal contempt of court, punishable in prison up to 5 years. And yet, when we show that these jurors, hundreds of them, have done exactly what you told them not to do, what do, judge? Basically nothing. You send the client back to prison. Go back to prison and die. The state attorney is talking to one of the prospective jurors and said, is there any reason you feel you could not be a fair and impartial juror? And the juror said, well, the only problem I have is that I fly out on Thursday. I'm supposed to fly out on Thursday for my brother's wedding in Michigan. and I've had these tickets since May, and I didn't get the notice until after that. If I have to stay, I will if I'm picked. That's not a problem, but that's the only problem that I foresee. State attorney said, if you are selected, it will be everybody's decision. I don't want you holding it against me if you're selected. The juror said, no, if I'm selected, I'll have to stay. Like my wife said, she will go without me. State attorney said, I don't know if the airlines would do anything if you show them your subpoena. And the juror said, I don't know. That would be something I would have to check into. Now, why would you do that? Why would you intentionally make a prospective juror, when you have a whole courtroom full of prospective jurors, why would you pick one who has his brother's wedding coming up? So now he's going to miss the wedding, and his wife has to fly alone. I don't know if they had children. Why would you make someone stay at a trial knowing that he's missing his brother's wedding? I don't know if he was the best man, but I know how hard it is to replace him. You've already had your tux fitted. Everything's ready to go. The wedding's a go. You have to call your brother and say, I'm going to miss your wedding. Why? Why would you do that? It's supposed to be fair. These people are supposed to want to serve. Do you think that that guy had anything on his mind except missing his brother's wedding and his wife having to travel alone to Michigan from Florida because he had to stay and sit on this jury over the weekend and into the next week? I don't think so. Then at the end of the voir dire, this juror spoke up and said, is there any kind of, well, since I'm not going to be able to make the wedding, is there any paperwork that you can give me or anything that I can try to get my money back from the airline for my airline ticket? The judge said, yes, I can do that. And if it will help you in any way, I will even do it in the form of an order directing you to appear for the trial and and I'll sign it and I'll give it to you. The juror said, I would appreciate that. The judge said, and you can at least say the judge ordered me to do it, and if I didn't do it, I would be held in contempt and put in jail, and I would miss the wedding anyway, right? So there you go, right? Okay, very well. What? Are you for real? Again, this is a joke to you? You think it's funny that this guy's going to have to miss his brother's wedding? And his wife's going to have to go alone? You think that's funny? You could have picked anyone else. And then, here's what I love. The judge threatens to put him in jail, hold him in contempt, and put him in jail if he doesn't show up. This is what goes on every single day in courtrooms all across America. Every single day. There you go, right? Okay, very well. And yet this poor guy is supposed to sit there for a whole week, miss his brother's wedding, have to talk to everybody on the phone, maybe FaceTime him over the weekend, and see that he missed everything. He missed it. Why? Because he had to stay for our client's trial. Do you honestly think that he cared at all about our client and whether or not he got a fair trial? I don't think so.